in terms of not affording the high costs of transport. And so we have programs that include RDP housing units and the gap market, also some city-based social housing that we are talking about. And as usual, academics, we like to say, limited empirical research on long-term affordability outcomes is our research gap. I will skip most of the things that I see that we have covered them. And so if we go and jump to our literature, we always want to say theory and practice. And academics, we bring theories. I have 3 of them today. One of them is the fundamental human needs theory that says that housing affordability determines whether individuals can secure adequate shelter without compromising other essential needs such as food, education, and healthcare. So for residents in low-cost housing, unaffordable rents or poor quality dwellings can compromise multiple dimensions of well-being. And this limits opportunities for social participation and stability. And so we also have, number 2, the subjective well-being theory. It views life. It says that we view a life satisfaction as a subjective evaluation of one's circumstances that is influenced by economic, social, and psychological factors. So housing contributes significantly with this subjective well-being theory by providing not only physical comfort, but also a sense of security, belonging, and identity. So for low-income households, access to affordable, well-located housing may improve satisfaction by reducing financial stress and enhancing access to social and economic opportunities. The other one is our well-known the human rights-based approach. And in South Africa, we have it as a constitution, also drawing from UN Habitat 2011. And so we recognize housing as a constitutional and universal right. So it is not enough to view affordability as a purely economic concern, but also social justice, equality, and human dignity. I remember relocating in Cape Town, moving from Sweden in 2005. When I saw the informal settlements, I said I'm going to contribute to finding solutions to the housing problem. And here I am with my PhD in 2019 that focused on mixed income housing. Because I believe we need to create everything together. Like in a mixed use style, I heard a speaker before saying, we have RDP housing where there are no trees. So we need to make our corrections to see how best can we create human settlements, cities that can function. So I think I need to jump so that the person will not, I will jump most of the stuff, because if you have a look at Tembelihle residential complex in Tshwane, you will see it's a case study of some social housing. I know I have seen problems related to its management, but that's not why we are here today. we did a study and came up with 3 themes about how people are living. Are they satisfied? Have their affordability improved? And we came up with key findings, 3 of them. So city-based city-based low-cost social housing must include facilities, amenities to ensure quality of life. Number 2, housing cost burden is well above 50% the household income. But there is improved life satisfaction and quality of low-cost housing that they are living in. So, maybe I can go through the 3 themes in a way. What we saw is that respondents did frame the low-cost housing in terms of accessibility, affordability, and the provision of basic services. They emphasized that developments must include facilities such as schools, parks, sanitation, and water supply to ensure the quality of life. This satisfaction was reported when these services were delayed, echoing evidence that inadequate service provision also leads to community protest. So the South African Human Rights Commission has established housing adequacy indicators such as the security of tenure, access to essential services, and livability, all of which were reflected in respondents' expectations. Furthermore, rapid urbanization and rural-to-urban migration emerged as a significant driver of housing demand, consistent with national trends. So, respondents acknowledged that government programs such as RDP, BNG sought to address inequality and urban housing shortages, but also pointed out that early programs focused excessively on numbers rather than the overall quality and sustainability of settlements. So these results underscore low-cost housing in South Africa is not simply a matter of providing physical shelter, but of delivering integrated, well-located settlements that can sustain long-term resident satisfaction. So participants spend about 30% of their household incomes on rent, utilities, water, electricity, groceries. For instance, 39 respondents responded earning over 7,500, but mostly allocated 2,000 rands to 3,000 rands on groceries and around 1,000 to electricity, in addition to other costs such as school fees and transport. So let me go to concluding remarks. I'm sure you'll be given some of these So the findings highlight that while city-based low-cost housing in South Africa alleviates hardships linked to location and access to services, affordability remains the most persistent challenge. On one hand, location to better situated developments has improved life satisfaction through reduced transport costs, greater convenience, and enhanced access to amenities. However, overall many households remain cost-burdened, spending well above the 30% income threshold on housing and related expenses. So this duality underscores the complex meaning of low-cost housing, in the South African context. It is not merely about providing a dwelling, but about delivering integrated, affordable, and sustainable human settlements. I have some recommendations. Before we were grilled about what do we take. So I kept thinking about it, and the findings are firm. Existing literature on housing, cost burdens, and life satisfaction, while also revealing important deviations such as the reliance on cohabitation strategies and the symbolic value residents attach to city living. And if you look at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Competition, that fosters or promotes companies and promotes economic growth, we see that our cities are engines for economic growth. And so if we don't have companies that produce goods and services, we are not going to grow. And our people will not earn money because we earn money from the goods and services that we produce. And we use the same money to go and pay for goods and services which we produced. So the secular economy should come from working together as human settlements with trade and industry as well. How do we create the companies, the organizations from which people can work? Because when they work, they are able to pay for their rentals. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. Colleagues, we literally have like less than 5 minutes. I think it's 4 minutes for the Q&A session. I now open the floor for comments, questions, and probably reflections. Thank you. Can I also request the speakers for this session to come and join in front?
Yes, I have a question for the first presenter regarding green buildings and valuation. We just wanted to know whether, with reference to the CO2 equivalent, that they are trying to revalue the buildings, or a combination of CO2 and energy savings, or both. And then the other thing is, I don't know, because she was talking about looking at value of buildings by getting people's perception. But isn't the valuation of buildings in this case, isn't it purely based on the pollution cost? For example, if it's a CO2 equivalent, you could look at how much a kilogram of carbon dioxide that is emitted, how much it will cost in terms of environmental damage, and then you could factor that in costs of buildings. That is my question for the first presenter. Then the second one about, is it PropTech? He talked about breaking down the property into very small units, but I think the South African law already has that concept. I think there is a form of property ownership that is under company shares that exists.
Dr. Adebole online, did you get the question?
Am I audible, please?
Yes, you are audible. You may proceed.
I didn't get the question. It was quite low. The volume was quite low. I can hear you, but I didn't hear the person that asked the question, please.
Okay, the question is coming again.
My question was, when you are trying to assess or revalue the buildings with respect to their being green.
Sorry, I can't hear, please. I can't hear.
Okay, when you are trying to assess the value of the buildings with respect to their being green, is it the carbon dioxide equivalent or the energy savings or both that you are considering? Then the issue of valuation of buildings, does it depend on the perceptions of people or because they already existing metrics? For example, there is a metric of how much environmental damage a kilogram of carbon dioxide contributes. Isn't that what is used to value buildings? For example, if you are considering the carbon dioxide equivalent. That is my question.
Okay. Thank you very much. In Nigeria, the traditional convention methods of valuation are still what the estate surveyors and valuers here are very conversant with. Many of them are not so much involved in incorporating sustainability into valuation, and that's why there have been studies to look at how advanced models, hedonic pricing models, and many of these models that can look at intrinsic values, how they can be used for valuation. But I was particularly talking about user perception from the angle of, if, for example, you are using comparable evidence, you want to be sure that you can't even put value on what people have not generally accepted as good. So if, for example, you are saying in terms of rental valuation that you want to bring up the value, the rent of this particular property just because it has sustainability features in it, then people may not go for it because they don't appreciate it. So I was talking of user perception from that angle. But when it comes to real valuation of capital value of pricing of properties, we are trying to see how to use these advanced models and how our estate surveyors can get more comfortable with these advanced models and move away from the traditional methods of valuation.
One, two, okay. I'm not sure whether your question or was it a remark, but either or with regards to the tokenization. Just a recap, we are looking at the subdivision of a property into digital tokens, digital assets, which are tradable. But this is talking now into the access to an economic right. But in terms of the legal recognition of the same, there's still a lot to be done there in terms of property ownership, because without a legal framework for the recognition of the tokens, therefore it is just an economic kind of trade like crypto, but property needs a kind of a title to it. And this is where blockchain now comes into play, where there's a digital registry of the same in the deeds office, which is accessed by the consortium of the key stakeholders, which help then the holder of the token to unlock property value for themselves and also for their children's children. So that is the point.
Okay, I think I can rephrase for the question. The effect of it was that whether you're using blockchain for multiple ownership or you are using a company, is in the effect the same thing, because South Africa already allows for ownership within a company structure divided into multiple shares. So what would be the advantage of then having an unregulated system that then comes into that ownership under the different tokens?
Yes, actually, you've also phrased it well, and I also wanted to add to that, because I was saying that, okay, you can enact regulations for blockchain, but already there's existing regulations on property rights. Blockchain is not going to override the existing regulations on property rights. So those are the important things to look at if you want to change the existing code. Blockchain just enables probably registration to happen in a more convenient way, but it doesn't change the underlying regulations that have been enacted.
The same thing, because what we are trying to encourage here is overall access. Okay, so we are basically talking the same thing, that whatever it is that we are doing with the technology, we are trying to achieve ownership, add dignity to people. And blockchain, like what you said, cannot override, but it can only operate within the framework, the legal framework, as an enabler. And what we are advocating here within this thought leadership colloquium is, what are the steps that we can actually take? What disruptive thinking that we can encourage and foster within different organizations that encourage social innovation, justice innovation to take place, so that the disadvantaged, because of historical legislation that was skewed against the black population, is corrected. And property, being a very important asset, is very key in terms of achieving this social justice. So in a way, I'm putting it to the House, I'm putting it to the stakeholders to say, let's think differently about property ownership. Let's think differently for somebody who has got a salary that cannot be approved by the bank for a mortgage, but then they can actually be enabled to become property investors in a way. How can the investors themselves, how can the developers themselves create these digital tokens that can be bought piecemeal by people who cannot be approved by the bank? You know, so I know we can talk about it, but maybe we can take it offline if you want, because we also want to give maybe others an opportunity. I'm not running away from it. I can debate it from AM to AM, but I also want to be very democratic.
Can I just comment? You know, if you look around the world, you could actually benchmark with what is being done. For example, if you look at South America, there are low-income housing models that have been implemented through processes called securitization with a bank. That is some kind of financial innovation. Then if you go to the UK, there is what are called social bonds that you could implement. It's a matter of looking at what has worked elsewhere for low-income groups. Then if you go to countries like Kenya and other countries in Africa, housing microfinancing, and then incremental construction. So those methods of financial innovation, and there are quite a number, even in Ethiopia there are projects that have proved successful with the government and also the private sector. You can solve some of these problems. That is my idea on this.
Discussion with case studies. Thank you.
Do you have another question?
Colleagues, thank you for your participation and engagement. Thank you, speakers, for your perspectives. We really appreciate your ideas. I do realize that there is more. Don't end here. You can take it outside the room and share more. This concludes our session, and I'm not sure. Program Director, you can come. Thank you.
Good afternoon once more, colleagues. I think maybe we all deserve a round of applause. I think having survived from the morning with the delays we had earlier to really pushing now and still participating in, you know, all the work that unfolded today. I think it's well done, colleagues. You've really come through, and we've made transformation really an important part of today and hopefully tomorrow as well. I think as we really conclude on today's events, I just want to check if Ms. Refile Mashiko is in the house. She is. She's going to take us through the reflections from day one. I think she might be working with Ms. Kitumetse Sepeng, which once they are concluded, we will go into a light cocktails entertainment and an opportunity, colleagues, to really get to network as we, it does not stop here, it does not end with a few presentations that have just happened. This creates a platform really for us to connect beyond these 2 days. Thank you.
Good afternoon, colleagues. It is so inspiring to see the room so full at these hours. Oh, thank you so much. I know I'm very short. Yeah, so I'm very pleased that we're all still here, all still engaged, and I'm hoping it will continue like this for tomorrow. My role is just to provide a synthesis of what we have discussed today. Today's discussions not only reminded us that transforming South Africa's property and human settlement sector is a role of the academia alone, but it is a joint effort. We don't only need non-academic partners, but we also need to ensure that we have industry, government, and stakeholders alike working together to address the connections between land, livelihood, and legacy, as we have heard this morning. We heard that, property is not just about ownership, but about security, heritage, and opportunity, particularly highlighting the issue in rural areas, especially land for heritage can and should become land for development. I was in a session just now, facilitating a session, and I just quickly reminded the audience about the housing crisis that we have, but particularly, I don't know if I'm being controversial, in Cape Town, some of these discussions that we're having here could definitely be useful for addressing the issue in Cape Town. Sorry for being controversial if I am. So this partnership that we have with PPRA shows that collaboration can do, blending knowledge, skills, and innovation to drive solutions that matter. We also reflected on women's empowerment. While progress is being made, we must do more to ensure that women have equal access to finance, markets, and professional growth opportunities. A recurring theme was the issue around building trust between ourselves and institutions. This builds strong institutions, and it also lowers costs and strengthens relationships between collaborators. Earlier in the morning, we also heard that the Minister of Human Settlements, she reminded us that digital tools can provide, or rather can democratize property data. And as you know, we have an emerging issue around AI, how we can trust AI and how we can benefit from AI, and as well as opening new investment pathways and making transformation tangible for emerging practitioners. As our CEOs mentioned in the morning, the NRF CEO, Dr. Nelomondo, he stressed that developing transformative skills is key. while PPRA CEO, Ms. Tato Maedi, called for an industry that is ethical, inclusive, and trusted. So as we close day one, one message I think we can all agree on for the day is that the future of the sector depends a lot on partnerships and not working in silos. So partnerships that bridge research and practice, tradition and innovation, heritage and opportunity. So tomorrow we'll continue our discussions and this journey, building on insights and enhancing our collaboration. I do believe that there's quite a number of stakeholders in the room. There's an opportunity to network. This is not the end of the discussion, so we do encourage you to please continue networking. Network should not just be a network only, but it should also transpire into something quite tangible. So from my side as the NRF, I would like to say that I'm very happy with the partnership we have with PPRA. I'm glad that we could bring you all here together. And yeah, let's see what action we can achieve collaboratively. So thank you. I will call on Ggeberha just to make a few announcements. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming today. I just have a few announcements for tomorrow. So we're starting in the morning sharply at 9 o'clock, so please arrive by 8:30. If you've missed your registration and you don't have a name tag, please collect a name tag. If you don't have a name tag, you cannot get access to the food. So make sure that you register and you have a name tag. Yes, we just need to make sure that the numbers are aligning with the catering that's there. Yes, but besides that, thank you for coming. Please join us for a cocktail now until whenever you decide to leave. Thank you.